Hello aviators, I welcome you on board flight of Captain Vijay in the series of flights to study radio aids for Dgca, CPL and Atpl examination. Today we will fly through the topic of VDF known as VHF direction finding. So fasten your seatbelts as we are ready for takeoff. You may be well aware that pilots and air traffic controllers speak and hear each other with the help of a radio set which primarily transmit in VHF frequency band. Though the VHF band is from 30 MHz to 300 MHz, frequency between 118 MHz to 137 MHz has been allocated for VHF air-ground communication. A good to know information is FM radio band is from 88 to 108 MHz. Instrument landing system ILS band is from 108 to 112 MHz. VHF omnidirectional ranging, that is VOR range, is 112 MHz to 118 MHz, and air to ground radio communication frequency is 118 MHz to 137 MHz. What is VDF? VDF stands for VHF direction finding, and VHF is very high frequency. So what is VDF and what does it do? VDF is a ground-based equipment which receives radio signal transmitted by pilots and finds the bearing or the direction of the incoming signal, thereby determining the location of the aeroplane in terms of its bearing. But remember, no distance information is provided. So, by merely receiving a RT transmission from an aeroplane, the controller can locate your azimuth position, and he can transmit this information back to the pilot for the purpose of homing to the airport. So, VDF is a ground controller interpreted radio aid. Working principle. How does the VDF equipment work? Well, VDF has a receiver aerial which is vertically polarized and has an array of vertical aerials in the shape of a circle, also called adcock aerial. By comparing the phases of the received signal and time of arrival at various elements arranged in the circle, it finds out the direction of arrival of the radio signal. VDF is also known as CADF, which stands for Commuted Aerial Direction Finding. Q codes, important from exam point of view. VDF can provide QUJ, QTE, QDM and QDR. So let's understand what they mean. To home on to an airport, aeroplane will make use of compass to steer a heading. So the controller can provide the pilot with information of heading to steer to reach the airport. It could be a true heading or magnetic heading. True heading, which will take the aeroplane to the airport, is called QUJ. And opposite of QUJ is QTE. So QTE is true radial of aeroplane from airport. So the reciprocal of QUJ is QTE. So how do you find out the other if one is given? Well, if the value is less than 180, add 180. And if the value is more than 180, then subtract 180. Magnetic heading, which will take the aeroplane to the airport in nil wind, is called QDM, and opposite of QDM is QDR. So QDR is magnetic radial of the aeroplane from airport. By hearing QUJ, QTE, QDM, QTR, one would think that what are these Q codes and why there are 3 letters? Well, as aviator, you must be curious to know more things about a subject. Q codes dates back to the time when there was no voice communication. The radio signals could only send dots and dashes to transmit Morse code for every alphabet. So to make a query on the RT very simple to understand, 3-letter Q codes were developed so that controlling station can quickly interpret what information the pilot is seeking or asking. So if a controller receives Morse code corresponding to QDM, he would know that the pilot is asking for magnetic heading to the airport. Reply was also sent using Morse codes. Currently, Morse code is used only as a backup procedure. Pilots and controllers can communicate with verbal speech. Transmission of Q codes in Morse code is history, but answering their meaning in exam is still relevant. Class of bearing. Important from exam point of view. If pilot says Pune Tower Victor Tango Alpha Bravo Charlie request homing, the controller will respond Victor Tango Alpha Bravo Charlie Pune Tower homing to Pune is 045 class Bravo. So a controller when passing homing information to pilot suffixes class A, B, C or D. This indicates the accuracy of bearing information. So class A bearing accuracy is plus minus 2 degrees, class B plus minus 5 degree, class C plus minus 10 degree, and the class D accuracy is more than or beyond plus minus 10 degrees. VHF letdown service. VDF is a legendary equipment which was developed in 1950s. A range of new radio aids like ADF, VOR, ILS kept coming in later as technology developed. But in those good old days, charts and procedures were published to use VDF as an airfield approach aid. VDF letdown does not require any specialist equipment to be carried on board an aeroplane. This letdown was also called QGH procedure. In QGH procedure, the pilot is constantly given a heading to steer to stay on the profile published on the chart. Since the radar service or distance information is not available, controller uses clock to time out on outbound heading before asking the pilot to turn inbound. And QGH is an airfield approach aid similar to NDB or VOR approach. Interesting fact about a QGH procedure is that VDF equipment does not need your voice. Without saying even a single word, if you just press the push to talk switch on RT set for few seconds, the carrier wave would be transmitted and the controller can plot your radial on his scope. So as long as you can hear the controller and follow his instructions, you can fly the QGH letdown profile even if your mic is not working. And this profile is known as speechless QGH. So hope this video has helped you to understand a simple but important topic, VHF direction finding, known as VDF. With this, we have arrived at our destination. Subscribe the channel for more such informative videos on aviation. Do not forget to comment below about how did you like the video or if you want me to cover a specific topic. So hope to see you on board again for the next flight. Until then, happy landings.